You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. We are here to do a little mini show to preview Week 12 in the NBA. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it indeed. Back to a relatively normal schedule in the NBA for this week. With no public holidays, no big events, nothing like that going on. So, for the week, 9 games on Monday, 6 games Tuesday, 9 on Wednesday, 4 on Thursday. And then we end the week with a big 10-game Friday, 7 games Saturday, and 7 games Sunday. Now, normally my cutoff for stream days is 8 games. So, we're looking at Tuesday, we're looking at Thursday, we're looking for Saturday, and we're looking at Sunday. And those of you who are new to fantasy basketball, first of all, welcome. But I have had numerous people ask me, what does stream mean? And it means adding a player off the waiver wire with the express intention that you're using them for 1 or 2 games based on how the schedule looks or what particular stats you need at that point. So you can go and add someone who's not a guy that's considered a must-add 12-team league player. Maybe it's Patty Mills, who's not a guy that you'd ever consider, but on a day where there are very few games on and you need some points and threes, add Mills for one day, use him that one day, drop him the next day. That's what stream means. Taking advantage of the schedule, maximizing that roster spot by churning through players into that area. So when we're looking at days to stream, we're looking on the days where there are fewer games, because if you have 10 games on and you look at your roster, you probably don't even have an active slot available to add that player off the wire into your active lineup. Now, those 9-game days like Monday and Wednesday, you might have an active roster spot. So you might be able to stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, Sunday. But a pretty decent cutoff is 8 games. So we look at Monday and Wednesday as perhaps. We look at Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday as almost definite days where you're going to have free active roster spots where you can stream players in. So that is important to be able to note and be able to take advantage of the schedule for this week. If we're looking at how we do this in terms of streaming, again, looking at back-to-backs is a great way of doing it. So the only stream-worthy back-to-back situation is over the weekend with those 7 games Saturday and 7 games Sunday. It's great to end the week, and the team that has that is the Denver Nuggets. They've got that back-to-back on the weekend. The news coming out just minutes or so before I recorded this that Michael Malone said that Michael Porter Jr. is going to be his 6th man moving forward and probably play about 25 minutes a night. Now, Porter struggles to accumulate defensive stats and assists. His shooting is absolutely through the roof, but he's absolutely a guy that we have to add just for that point-scoring ability. Think of him as a tall Jordan Clarkson sort of a player with more upside there, with more efficiency, and that puts him into the 12-team discussion if he's going to be playing 25 a night. That's going to hurt Mason Plumlee, Monty Morris, Jeremy Grant, Paul Millsap, and guys like Malik Beasley, Juancho Hernangomez, with all those minutes, not all of everyone's minutes, but minutes out of all those guys funneling in to what Porter can do. But especially with his back-to-back, it's fantastic. And yes, Denver plays 4 games, Monday and Wednesday to start the week. That's not ideal, but I would still be looking at adding him. But they are a team that we look at. So then maybe it's Jeremy Grant at the end of the week. Maybe it's Monty Morris at the end of the week. Maybe it is Beasley, although he's hard to trust. But there are guys that you can add there on that back end of the week, back-to-back. Now, the pseudo back-to-backs, if you add someone for Tuesday, let's see if there's anyone that we can look at on Thursday, because they are the 2 low-volume days. The Oklahoma City Thunder have the Tuesday-Thursday pseudo back-to-back, as do the Detroit Pistons. The Minnesota Timberwolves have that combination as well. The Portland Trail Blazers, and the last team that has that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. News today that Kevin Love has had a fight with Kobe Altman and is displeased with he shows disgust. Let me read the tweet from Shams. Kevin Love had an emotional outburst directed towards Kobe Altman on Saturday, expressing displeasure and disgust with the organization after the team issued a fine for a bench tantrum. So that Love situation is not good, and he's probably going to get dealt at some point. Of course, Larry Nance is out at the moment, so that Tuesday-Thursday combination for the Cavs, we're looking more at guys like Kevin Porter Jr. in that situation, Darius Garland in that situation. If the Padawan Colin Sexton's available, he's a guy we look there. If you need blocks, John Henson's available as well. But there are quite a few teams who have that Tuesday-Thursday pseudo back-to-back. The Thursday-Saturday is another one we can look at. The Boston Celtics have that combination, so Marcus Smart should be rostered anyway. If we saw that big performance he had with Kemba Walker out, he should be rostered regardless. But Enes Kanter has value there. Daniel Tice has value there at the end of the week as well. The Thunder also have that Tuesday-Thursday, so they've got a really interesting schedule. They play Monday, but then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 3 quality games to finish off after that Monday, so that's really strong from them as well. The same goes for Detroit, who have the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday combination, as do the Portland Trail Blazers and the Cavs as well, while Philadelphia has just the Thursday-Saturday combination. So those teams with the 3 quality games are really interesting. So those teams that do have it, the Oklahoma City Thunder, as I mentioned, the Pistons have 3 quality games. The Timberwolves have 3 quality games as well. They're another team, which I'm not sure I mentioned them. The Blazers have it, and the Cavs had it. So yeah, adding guys from any of those teams at the beginning of the week, you can get those 3 games of action out of them versus, say, a team like the Magic who play 3 games this week and they fall on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you add a Wes Iwundu, or if you're adding a DJ Augustin or a Terrence Ross or a Kem Birch perhaps, you might not actually get to play that player at all. So a guy from one of those other squads, the Cavs, the Blazers, you might get more value out of them. Maybe it's Kent Bazemore of the Blazers, who's not good, but 3 games versus 0 games is obviously an improvement, and that is the way, absolutely, that you should be approaching scheduling players. This is for daily changes leagues, of course. When we're looking at weekly changes leagues, there is only one team this week that plays only the 2 games, and that is the Clippers, and they don't play until Friday. So stream value for guys like Landry Shamet is non-existent, Jermichael Green and Mo Harkless, because you have to wait. You're not adding these guys. Now, as for, there's no back-to-back. So Kawhi is going to get those 2 games. He's probably a start in weekly leagues. Paul George with his hammy, that's another almost week's worth of rest. I do believe that George will be fine, so I think he is okay to start in a weekly lineup. But Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverley, of course, not players we should be looking to start in weekly leagues. Now, the majority of teams this week do play 4 games. The Jazz, the Bucks, the Nuggets, the Spurs, Warriors, Hawks, Celtics, Pelicans, Wizards, Bulls, Nets, Thunder, Hornets, Knicks, and Mavericks all have 4 games this week. The Mavericks, all 4 of their games come at home. So that's the majority of the league playing 4 games, meaning that those 2-game teams, like the Clippers, they are at a significant disadvantage when everyone else is playing 4. So if we look at everyone else who's got the 3 games, is there any sort of names that stand out to me there as players you might not want to start in a weekly format? Someone like Carmelo Anthony might not be a start in a weekly format this week. Tristan Thompson, probably not someone we start in a weekly format. But mostly it's just going to be, it's one of these weeks where it is a lot easier to set your lineup in a weekly changes league with majority playing 4 and only one team playing 2. There's not going to be many start-sit decisions. Now for the Miami Heat, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Justice Winslow has been upgraded to questionable. So I don't think we're starting any of those guys with a 3-game week coming up because we just don't know what their minutes load is going to be, and they're already at a games played disadvantage versus so many of those other teams that do have the 2 games for this upcoming week. Now, in terms of players who could be available that we can look to add that have value in weekly changes leagues and might actually be able to lock into a lineup. We can look at someone like Jordan Clarkson in Utah. They have 4 games. They've got a really strong schedule against the Pelicans, Knicks, Hornets, and Wizards, so he's going to get an opportunity to put up some numbers there. DeAndre Hunter in Atlanta is another guy. Kevin Huerter should already be rostered. You look at Alec Burks and the little dog Glenn Robinson III in Golden State. They have 4 games this week, a decent enough schedule. Opportunities for them as well. Damian Lee, another name on that list. Gary Harris for the Denver Nuggets.
Nice, Gary!
Talked about Denver before. He's a guy that, with his steal rate at the moment, he's putting up good enough value, but the 4 games tips him over the edge to be a weekly type of player. Enes Kanter in Boston, as I mentioned. Jordan McRae in Washington. Bill's leg is really worrying me. McRae's playing well. He's a good option there. Taurean Prince in Brooklyn. That Kyrie Irving news came out today as well, that he's going to have a cortisone shot in his shoulder, probably another 2 weeks a minimum and a real risk of a 3 to 4 month surgery coming for Kyrie. So obviously terrible news for him. Obviously not faking his injury to avoid playing against the Boston Celtics. This is a significant situation for him, and it's pretty rough. And I think All-Star break would be best case scenario, it appears, for Irving. The Mavericks have the 4 games as well, so someone like Dwight Powell has some value. Maybe it's Delon Wright. Maybe you could squeeze a Dorian Finney-Smith into a weekly lineup. Seth Curry as another guy, Maxi Kleber, but that's really dependent on Porzingis. But Porzingis looks like he'll be fine for this upcoming 4-game week. They do have a back-to-back Friday, Saturday, but KP hasn't sat out back-to-backs this season, so I don't think we need to be concerning ourselves with that too much as we move forward. Some other type streaming options either get a bit of a boost this week that we can have a look at. I'm going to be doing a full waiver wire show tomorrow, but Aaron Baines starting for the Phoenix Suns, he's worth looking at. DJ Augustin, again, has that value, but no quality games. How does that fit into your schedule? Is he good enough to get into your active roster? DeAnthony Melton has some value as well for this upcoming week. Kevin Porter, as I mentioned. McCall Bridges in Phoenix, although the last game with Phoenix was a little bit annoying in terms of how he was used. Troy Brown, another option that you could look at as a short-term type of a plug-and-play option for the week. That'll do it for my Week 12 preview. I'll be back tomorrow with a waiver wire show. I'll also be writing a mailbag article on Yahoo, so check out the tweet asking for questions there and the Instagram story asking for questions for that mailbag as well. Follow me on Twitter at redrock_bball. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.